You're listening to How to Drink Less, and I'm your host, Adriana Cloud. Whether your goal is to cut back, take a break, or say goodbye to alcohol for good, this podcast will help you stop drinking on autopilot, learn how to manage cravings, and feel fully in control around alcohol. It's easier than you think. Listen on to find out how.
Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in. Hope you're all doing well today, wherever you are. This week, I want to offer you one question that might change everything about how you approach your drinking habits. And that question is, what is alcohol giving you? If you've ever wondered why it's so hard to change your drinking habits, even when you really want to, this question can help you find the missing piece. Now, I'm going to assume that when you hear this question, you fall into one of two camps. Either you have a long list of things that you believe alcohol is giving you and which you're worried about giving up if you quit drinking, or you think I'm asking you a trick question to which the answer is obviously alcohol is giving you nothing valuable because it's terrible for you. Let me address the first camp first. Those of you who know very well what benefits alcohol is providing, and you're worried about how you will cope if you're no longer drinking. I get it. I have been there. I know that from where you're standing, it can be hard to imagine having to do sober all the things that you're used to doing with alcohol. But as you listen to this episode, I want you to think about the price you're paying for these benefits. And now for the second camp, the people who might think that what I'm asking is a rhetorical question because you know alcohol is bad for you and you know why you should give it up. It's just that you're struggling to figure out how. I've been there too, my friends. I too have tried to scare myself sober. When we're trying to quit something, we think that the way to do that is to remind ourselves of all the ways that that thing is bad for us. It's a little bit like how if you're going through a breakup and it's painful, you try to comfort yourself by thinking about your ex's negative traits. When you find yourself missing them and wanting to call them, you might remind yourself of how stubborn they were or how they would act all passive-aggressive when they were upset, instead of just telling you what was bothering them. This tendency to zero in on the negative is a protective strategy. Your brain is trying to ease the tension between two conflicting desires, like missing someone you loved and knowing that the relationship wasn't healthy. One way to reduce that cognitive dissonance is to focus on what was wrong with that person and why they were not a good match. And we tend to do the same thing when we're trying to quit alcohol. We think the way to stay strong in our commitment to drink less, or not at all, is to remain focused on why alcohol is bad for us. So when you first hear this question, what is alcohol giving you? You might be tempted to quickly answer, nothing, it's giving me absolutely nothing. Because that sounds like it's the correct answer, right? That's what I did when I was trying to quit and in early sobriety as well. I'd read all these books about how alcohol affects the brain and the body, and all these stories of relationships ruined because of alcohol. And for a while, I was riding high on that righteous indignation about how alcohol was a literal poison that we're ingesting. I was really anti-alcohol for a while, and I felt like I needed to be in order to keep my commitment to sobriety. I thought that if I kept reminding myself of how bad alcohol was, then I would be more likely to do the work and stay the course. So if this was your reaction too, I get it, and it's perfectly normal. But I do want you to think about that question again and to try to answer it. What is alcohol giving you? Because it's giving you something, or it was giving you something. There is a positive intention underneath everything we do. Every behavior and every habit is your brain's best attempt in that moment to move you towards something it perceives as beneficial. That's how we're wired from an evolutionary standpoint. We're motivated by seeking pleasure, avoiding pain, and conserving energy. Think about it. There's no point in doing something unless it's going to move us closer to the result we want. And one simple way to think about this is that everything we do it because of how we think it will make us feel. That's the result we're after. We're always either chasing a feeling or we're trying to avoid a feeling. We want to get the promotion or win the game because it will make us feel proud and it will help us to avoid feeling inadequate or like an imposter. We eat a delicious meal so we can stop feeling hungry and instead feel satiated and content. We watch TV because we want to be entertained rather than bored. And when we drink alcohol, it's the same thing. We drink because we want to feel something or we want to stop feeling something. So maybe you drink because you want to feel calmer and more relaxed once you've finished your work for the day. Maybe you drink because you want to feel more confident going on a date or when you're meeting your partner's coworkers at a fundraiser. Or maybe alcohol helps you to feel more connected to your friends and makes it easier to open up and share more vulnerably with them. And on the flip side, maybe you drink to avoid feeling overwhelmed with everything that's on your plate. Maybe you're grieving and alcohol offers you a way to soften the intensity of that grief. Or maybe you're dealing with rejection in your romantic life or your creative endeavors, or you're bored at work, or you're an empty nester and you're feeling a little lost and lacking a sense of purpose in your life, and you turn to alcohol to tamp down that feeling of emptiness. I don't mind sharing that right now, today, I'm trying to process some embarrassment. I don't want to go into the details, but I did something yesterday that unfolded in a way that made me feel really embarrassed and maybe a little bit mortified. And those are such uncomfortable emotions to feel. Ugh, my skin feels hot and itchy every time I think about it. And in the past, when I was a drinker, this would have been all the reason I needed to pour myself a drink, or several, and try to run away from that feeling. Because I did not know how to handle any emotion whatsoever. I definitely drank in order to feel less because my feelings felt overwhelming to me. And I also drank trying to feel something, looking for joy or connection at the bottom of a glass. So I want you to start noticing what feeling you're chasing when you drink, or what feeling you're trying to avoid. The reason it's important to do this is because the better you can understand what alcohol is providing, the more power you have over your habit. It's as simple as that. If you demonize alcohol and you're trying to scare yourself into not drinking by reminding yourself that alcohol is linked to several different cancers and it increases the risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, dementia, and so on, you're not giving yourself a chance to fully understand your relationship with alcohol. And the less you understand something, the harder it is to change it. This is why I want you to really sit with this question of what alcohol is giving you. Another way to ask this question is, what problem am I trying to solve with alcohol? Because before alcohol became the problem, it was the solution to something, at least temporarily. Make a list because it's probably more than one thing. I haven't met a single person who drinks only for one reason. By the time we get to this place where we're questioning our drinking habits, alcohol has become the default answer in many different situations. So if you're starting to realize that there's many different things that alcohol provides, please know that's absolutely normal. That's all of us. There's nothing wrong with you and you're not broken. Once you have a better sense of what problem you were trying to solve with alcohol, what that allows you to do is to ask yourself, what could I do instead to achieve the same effect? For example, Let's say you realize that you often drink when you're bored, maybe while you're folding the laundry or cooking dinner, because you find those tasks really tedious. This is useful information to have. You can now brainstorm other ways to make those tasks less objectionable. Maybe you could listen to some music or a podcast. Maybe you can call a friend to chat while you're chopping veggies. Maybe you use that time while your hands are busy to brainstorm ideas for your friend's birthday party that you volunteered to organize. So that's one possible next step. Come up with alternative ways to tackle boredom without drinking. A different approach, I almost want to say a more advanced approach, although it doesn't necessarily have to be. But once you know what alcohol is doing for you, a different approach you can take is to question the whole premise of why alcohol is required in the first place. Let's say you drink as a way to tamp down your social anxiety when you're meeting new people. What if you were willing to just feel that anxiety? It's not how we're taught to think, I'll give you that. Very few of us ever learn how to identify and process our emotions. So for most people, their first reaction when they feel an emotion like anxiety is to try to eliminate it. We think anxiety is a problem to be fixed. But what if, instead of trying to get rid of it, you decide just to accept it and sit with it? I tell you, this idea would have broken my brain a few years ago. What do you mean, sit with anxiety? Are you crazy? That's so uncomfortable. But if you've listened to my episode on how to feel your feelings, that's episode number 9, by the way, if you want to check it out, you've heard my spiel about how feelings are not dangerous. They're just temporary sensations in your body, and you're perfectly capable of surviving them. Your body knows how to feel anxious. So, what if it's not a problem to feel anxious? What if you just decided to normalize that that's how you're going to feel for a little bit? And perhaps reassure yourself that you can handle it because it won't be the first time you've experienced anxiety, and it likely will not be the last time. You might also remind yourself that you're not alone. So many people feel some level of anxiety in situations like that. You can say to yourself, how human of me. Because that's all that's happening. You're having a human moment. How very human of you to experience anxiety. And this brings me to another reason why sitting with the question of what alcohol is giving you can be so beneficial. Because it opens the door for some self-compassion and forgiveness. When you give yourself time to sit with this question, it becomes obvious that, at least at some point, you had your reasons for drinking. There was a method to the madness, as it were. Alcohol made you a promise. It promised you that it would help you feel less lonely, or more confident, or more relaxed, or less angry. That's what you were really looking for every time you reached for a drink. And when you can see that more clearly, hopefully it becomes easier to stop judging yourself for drinking too much. You were doing your best with the information and the tools available to you at the time. You learned that alcohol offers temporary relief, so it makes perfect sense that you turned to alcohol when you were looking for relief. Can you find it in your heart to extend some compassion to yourself? You can see how it would be a lot harder to find self-compassion if you're fixated only on the negative effects of alcohol. There's not a lot of sympathy to be found down that road. And of course, it's important to be honest with yourself about whether alcohol is actually delivering the benefits that it promised you, and at what cost. Those couple of glasses of wine every night, are they really helping you to quote-unquote deal with stress? Or are they actually wrecking your sleep and making you feel even more exhausted and anxious in the morning? When you do the cost-benefit analysis, is it still worth it to continue drinking the way you've been drinking? Maybe, maybe not. You get to decide that for yourself, but making an empowered decision starts with telling yourself the truth, both about what alcohol is giving you and about what it's taking away. This second question about what alcohol is taking away is what we're going to talk about in next week's episode, which is a companion to this one. So make sure to tune in for that as well. And if you're ready to stop drinking on autopilot and to understand what's really driving your habit, this is exactly the kind of work I do with my coaching clients. We don't just take alcohol away, we figure out what you've been using it for and how to give yourself those things in healthier and more sustainable ways. If that sounds like the kind of change you're looking for, then let's talk. You can book a free consultation via the link in the show notes, and we can chat and explore what's possible for you and whether coaching is the right next step. All right, friends, that's what I've got for you today, so I'll leave you here. Take good care, and I'll see you next week.
If you're looking for practical advice for how to say no to alcohol and say yes to yourself, you will want to get on my email list. Sign up to receive my free guide with 7 steps to kickstart your sobriety. The link is in the show notes, so go and grab it now, and I'll see you soon in your inbox.